In today's video, we are looking at Fiends and how we can introduce them into our very next Dungeons & Dragons campaign or one-shot adventure. Hello everyone and welcome back to the DM side. In today's video we are continuing our journey through the monster manual where I have gone and hand selected just a few monsters from every monster archetype that I believe you definitely need to use in your very next D&D campaign or at least your very next one-shot adventure. Today we look at the Fiends, and before we jump in I want you to comment down below what's your favorite Fiend, which one do you want to use, or what have you used already and how did you use them. On top of that, if you are enjoying the series, consider subscribing so you don't miss out on any more videos, or if you want to help the channel out, give this video a thumbs up, like it helps spread it out to others who may not see it just yet. But enough of that, let's get straight into the Fiends with number one. The very first creature that we are looking at today is the Imp, a classic creature that you really do need to include in your games. These creatures are tiny winged devils, these fiends that can be found on all layers of the 9 hells, as well as finding them easily on the material plane. Now, they aren't really battle-heavy combat creatures. They don't have a lot of hit points, they don't have a lot of AC. However, to be fair, they can defend themselves. They have a tail attack, which can deal piercing damage and poison damage. They are immune to fire damage and necrotic damage completely. They do have resistance to cold damage and non-magical weapon attacks, and on top of that, they have advantage against magical effects and spell saving throws, so they can defend themselves, but it's really more to get out of battle. Their value is in the social encounters. These imps are perfect spies. They are able to turn invisible, as well as having a limited polymorph ability where they can transform into any small creature. Think rats, bats, spiders, ravens, owls. Think anything on the familiar table, really. Your imp could spy on your players disguised as one of these creatures, or just be invisible the entire time. So in your very next campaign, consider having an imp work for your BBEG, or even just a subplot baddie, or a side character that has come out of nowhere. They can work for your vampires, they can work for hags, they can work for any magically inclined creature or being that can offer them some form of status and power in return for their spying services. The next two creatures that we are looking at, we're going to put together because they really can be used in tandem together depending on your campaign. They are known as the Bearded Devil and the Chain Devil, and their names represent how they physically look. The Bearded Devil has these large spiked tentacles that protrude from their neck and chin in a beard fashion, which they can actually use in battle as a weapon, which I think is amazing. Whereas the Chain Devil, in the name, are completely wrapped and engulfed in chains, which, just like the Bearded Devil, they're able to control the chains, and they can actually control any chain that is within range of them that is not being worn and is not being used. And it is not limited to a size at all, which means if you're running a campaign where you are chaining up giants and the chains fall flat on the ground, and for some reason you have a devil army attacking at the same time, perhaps it's a large battle where the giants are working with the devils, all of a sudden your chain devil can actually lift and use these giant chains that were there to hold down the giant, and your players now have to deal with a chain that can reach out to up to 90, 100 feet, depending on how long it was to begin with. So how do these creatures relate to each other? Well, they're in an army sense, I guess we could say. The Bearded Devils are known as the shock troopers of the devil armies. They're at the front lines. They are there fighting, battling. They love the blood, the gore, the violence. When things are too calm and too peaceful, the Bearded Devil will actually find reason to cause trouble, to cause violence. If you so much as look at a Bearded Devil the wrong way, they will take that as an action, a reason to fight and to engage in combat. And so on the other side, you have the Chain Devils, who are known as the torturers. When you get your prisoners back to their camp, they're the ones who extract information from them, showing them visages of either loved ones who have passed or loved ones who are perhaps in danger now, or bringing out images of those who are hunting and tracking them to scare them into giving information. And it's actually a special ability that the Chain Devils can perform when they are in range, causing fear to your players, causing them to want to run from the battle, essentially, get away until they can remake their saving throws. Bearded devils are unable to be frightened, and both bearded devils and chain devils have the ability to speak telepathically with anyone that is within 120 feet of them, so they can cause this disruption for those who are not used to that ability, I guess you could say. You should definitely consider using these in your campaigns, having a devil army ambush or cause siege onto a city where your players are, having them forced to defend themselves. Next, we have the Incubus and Succubus. A really interesting about these creatures is that they take on the form of beautiful humans, beautiful men, women. However, they're very gender fluid. They can actually choose to move between being an incubus or a succubus, and then when they are actually breeding, they can basically change between what they need to have offspring and spawn themselves. If an incubus or a succubus mates with a regular humanoid, that's how you get a cambion. That's actually the history, the lore behind how cambions are actually made. Succubus and incubus have the same resistances and defenses and immunities to the imps and the bearded devils and the chain devils, and most of the creatures in this video will, so I'm not really going to talk much about them. However, they are able to charm creatures, and when those creatures are charmed, they can then speak with them across planes, from the ethereal plane through telepathy. Now, if they are not charmed by the incubus or succubus, they still do have a telepathy of up to 120 feet. However, it cannot cross over planes, but it means that they can keep tabs on those that they have charmed, and the saving throw against them is not as easy. I'm pretty sure it's actually one every day, opposed to a normal charm, which can be broken by removing yourself from the situation or after a certain amount of time. Incubus and succubus are really different to the bearded, chain devils, and the imps, because those creatures are devils and they live on the 9 hells, the layers of hell. Whereas incubus and succubus, they can move between the ethereal plane and the material plane, and on top of that, they actually hold no allegiances per se. They will work for hags, they will work for demons, devils, heck, they'll even work for regular humanoids as long as they are getting some kind of benefit out of this for themselves. Incubus and succubus are also very different to devils, where devils make deals, and usually it's in return for a soul, in return for some kind of great thing in their life. Like, I would like to be rich and famous for the rest of my life, and in return, when I die, you would have my soul. Whereas incubus and succubus, they don't deal in the same fashion. The way that they collect souls is by corrupting pure innocence, and corrupting them so much that they commit what is considered 3 betrayals to them. So it could be something such as thievery, it could be greed, it could be sinfulness and cheating with a loved one, it could be murder. And once they have committed those 3 atrocities, those 3 betrayals, these incubus and succubus will appear, and they will then perform on them what is known as the draining kiss, which will remove the soul from the body, and they will essentially eat it and take it and have it, and it will be theirs. Now, they cannot use their charm effect to make their prey break these betrayal rules. They need to make them, almost like Inception, have them believe that it's truly what they want to do. So an incubus and succubus from the material plane, the ethereal plane, will corrupt their dreams in the night. As they are sleeping, they will put haunting images into them. They will slowly sway them. And the purer the soul, the purer the person, such as paladins and clerics of good-natured gods, for example, the purer the person, the harder it is to break. However, the bigger the reward, the more fulfilling the soul is. Incubus and succubus are amazing creatures. They're extremely dangerous. They're hard to pin down. They are creatures that I would highly recommend that you run sparingly, but definitely if you really want to change it up and mess with your characters. If you would like to cause some kind of mystery within a city as to why people are murdering, or how come crime has risen, or why are people now moving on without talking to their loved ones, what is happening and how do we figure it out? It's a really interesting way to investigate rather than it just being a murderer in a city. The next creature that we have is known as the Rakshasa. It is an lawful evil fiend creature that in true form is a humanoid tiger. However, they do like to take the appearance of royalty, nobility, or well-off merchants and live in a lavish lifestyle. These creatures are insanely strong and will most likely end up being your final boss for your game, or if you're running a high-level campaign, you'll have more chance to include them in your storytelling. Rakshasas came into existence when powerful devils created a dark ritual to try and remove their essence in an attempt to escape the 9 hells, forming them into the creatures that we have now. Rakshasas are insanely powerful spell casters. They have a limited immunity to spells. They are able to choose whether they are affected by a level 6 spell or lower. And on top of that, they take no damage from non-magical weapons, and they have resistance to magical piercing damage that is specifically wielded by a good-natured character. They are also able to curse a player using their claw attacks, and when cursed, the player is actually unable to gain the benefits of a long rest until the curse has been removed through the means of a remove curse spell. On top of that, if your players do manage to actually defeat a Rakshasa on the material plane, that's not where it ends. They are thrown back, their essence melts and bubbles down and are torn back into the nine hells, where they form over an agonizing, painful journey to regain their body. This could take hours, days, months, years, decades, and all the while they are plotting their revenge, trying to figure out who they will take out first, who wronged them, who sent them here. And should the Rakshasa reform decades after, when your players are long gone and dead from either TPKs or having a happy and healthy life, the Rakshasa will return to exact their revenge on their offspring. So, DMs, if you would like to introduce a Rakshasa, perhaps you could talk to a player and maybe embed one in their backstory. Perhaps an ancestor of theirs, a great adventurer who encouraged them or inspired them to go on their journey, actually defeated a Rakshasa, and now it's come back for revenge, realizing that the one who had slain it has died of old age, and in so is going to take their revenge on their offspring. That's it for this video. I'm trying to make sure that I keep the videos a little bit shorter. I think 20 minutes was just way too long for monsters. So check out these videos here to keep up to date. Subscribe to the channel if you're interested. And on top of that, next week, we're going to be looking at plant monsters. I'll see you then.